As politicians across the country continue to fight back against Donald Trump's tariff threat, Doug Ford continued his public campaign. Ontario's premier making his case on Fox tonight, as well as several other international media outlets recently. Sean Jeffords has more.
Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No. Economic force.
Donald Trump is continuing to talk of making Canada America's 51st state and doubling down on threats to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. This as Ontario Premier Doug Ford makes more appearances in international media to wage a public fight against the threats. He appeared on CNN and the BBC Monday.
So when Trump says this today about the 51st state, how do you respond?
Well, I can appreciate his sense of humor, and I kind of went back about buying Alaska, but, something is just not realistic.
But Ford appears to be taking all of the president-elect's threats seriously. Trump has insisted that Canada needs to tighten up its borders, and Ford has announced a new deployment of 200 OPP officers aimed at beefing up border security. While the government wouldn't say how much they'll spend on the team, they say its work will focus on places other than Ontario's 14 border crossings. This expert on cross-border trade and security says there are gaps this policy could fill. Canada's border officers have no authority outside points of entry, she says.
So in those areas where there is no authority or mandate, that's a gap area, right? So how are we addressing that? And if the premier has the authority through the OPP to enforce those areas of jurisdiction, then that's a good thing.
This immigration researcher says she's concerned the rhetoric about the borders will harm asylum seekers exercising their legal rights.
The concern is that when people learn about the ways that the border is being securitized and controlled, again, they're not going to stop coming necessarily. They're just going to make riskier decisions, potentially even leading to loss of life.
And when it comes to fighting back against Trump's threats, McMaster University's Peter Grafe says there are limits to what Premier Ford can do. And strategically using these media appearances allows him to potentially reach Trump and his allies.
I think he feels deep down that Ontario's economic survival is at play. He realizes that he doesn't have the power to negotiate international trade agreements. That's a federal government issue. So he has to do something, and this is something he feels that he's capable of doing.
Ford is set to meet with the rest of Canada's premiers Wednesday, all in a bid to plan the next steps ahead of Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
To transit news, and the TTC has a new proposed budget for the year, and it's a big one with big issues to tackle. But there is some promising news for commuters. Ali Chiasson breaks it all down for us.
Wow, that's a hot take.
To get public transit to a state where it lives up to its slogan.
Take the better way. Take the TTC.
That, according to the proposed operating budget for 2025, will cost $2.81 billion. It's a 6.5% increase from last year's, which is about $85 million more in spending. And they're spending it on maintenance, addressing the repair backlog, and reducing wait times with the target of 6 minutes system-wide. And they'll do that by hiring more operators, purchasing vehicles, and...
You know how infuriating it is when the buses are bunched together? And you wait and wait and wait and nothing comes, and then boom, 3 of them showed up at the same time. Oh my God, okay, we need to fix that.
They'll do that by launching a pilot project along 10 routes where bunching is a problem, and sync traffic lights and send TTC personnel to get buses and streetcars running more consistently.
Everybody talks about it, but now we're actually going to do it.
They also budgeted $15 million for upgrading several stations.
Kennedy, Scarborough Town Centre, Lansdowne, Dundas, Finch, and Spadina.
This is a budget that put TTC riders and Torontonians first, with service increases and no fare increase. We're freezing the fares and putting in major investment in state of good repair and improving customers' experience.
2024 was a tough year for the TTC. There were fluid spills and power outages disrupting subway service. So yeah, that customer experience hasn't been great.
Sometimes it says the bus is going to be there in 5 minutes and it really takes 15. So I would say to improve that.
A lot of the riders' wishes are granted in the proposed budget.
like not shutting down as much. I feel like they're always broken.
Maintenance issues.
Issues, like always.
Very often. It's not very reliable.
I think as the time goes on, I think there's going to be more improvements, hopefully.
It just has to pass the budget debate on Friday. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
3 teenaged boys and a 20-year-old man are facing a slew of charges after cell phones were stolen from stores in Vaughan and Toronto. The first robbery happened in Vaughan on Sunday in the Weston Road and Rutherford Road area. The second happened in Toronto yesterday near Keele and Wilson. In both cases, police say suspects wore masks to disguise their faces, smashed through the store door with hammers, and made demands to unlock the safe. The suspects fled both scenes in a stolen vehicle, and last night, while fleeing, they crashed into another vehicle and were arrested after a foot chase. The driver of the other car sustained minor injuries. 2 of the teen suspects are 14 and 1 is 15. Toronto police have launched a month-long campaign with Crime Stoppers aiming to crack down on illegal firearms in our city.
This initiative aims to amplify voices of our community and address the threats posed by illegal firearms to our citizens and surrounding regions.
The campaign offers cash rewards of up to $300 for tips that lead to the seizure of illegal firearms. The province is launching a new program meant to ease the cost of renovating a home if it's done with energy efficiency in mind. Lane Harrison has more on the new home renovation savings program.
Anyone pondering a home renovation this year is in luck. The Ontario government will be providing up to 30% rebates on various products like smart thermostats and rooftop solar panels, plus windows, doors, and insulation. The catch? The improvements have to be energy efficient. Energy Minister Stephen Lecce explains what those savings could look like.
For an average family, for example, if they're going to be investing in insulation upgrades, they could be getting up to $8,900 back, a third of that cost. For a heat pump, they could be getting up to $12,000 in a rebate. For solar and battery storage, up to $10,000 for that type of investment.
The previous Liberal government offered rebates for energy-efficient homes, but Premier Doug Ford axed them 6 years ago. Lecce maintains this plan is different.
Keep in mind, the former Liberals only allowed families that about 30% of Ontario families were eligible for any form of energy efficiency programming in the past. Under the Affordable Energy Act, we have expanded eligibility. So now today, every family, irrespective of the source of energy they use to heat their homes, electricity or otherwise, are now eligible.
The Green Party says it supports the rebates, but notes there have been consequences since the previous versions were cancelled.
That's 6 years of higher energy bills, 6 years of more climate pollution, and 6 years without the economic benefits of all the jobs that are created through home energy retrofit programs.
The program is expected to be good for business.
Things like home retrofits provide a lot of jobs and opportunity for small businesses, whether you're a contractor, an electrician, HVAC installer. Homeowners using these programs will also help your business, which is also going to be positive for the economy.
And for consumers who want to get into the solar game.
These resources are becoming more and more affordable every day. Prices are dropping. And so this just lowers that entry point for people to take control of their own power generation and storage.
The program opens to homeowners on January 28th, but people can sign up online now. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
In some places, there are laws to protect consumers from defective vehicles. Basically, lemon laws allow recourse for people who purchase a new car with a substantial defect. They exist in many U.S. states, and now an Ontario man is joining the call for this province to introduce those laws after a new car he bought started having issues just 4 days after he brought it home. Farah Morelli shares his story.
So this is the rental they provided.
These days, this is the vehicle Carl Cameron drives around. But it's not the one he bought. Last year, he purchased a new $40,000 2024 Nissan Altima. But within days, he says, the problems began. From flashing lights on the dash to the radio turning on and off.
And it's telling me this tire was low, this tire was high. So 4 tires, it was showing me different things. So then the radio started. The radio, boom, just went off. And I'm going, oh, what's going on?
Because he was hospitalized for various health issues, he says he couldn't immediately take it back to the dealership. But when he did, he was told they needed to order a replacement part. That was almost 3 months ago.
Nothing's been replaced, nothing's been resolved. I keep paying for a vehicle that I don't have.
Cameron believes the car is defective and wants the dealership to take it back, but has been told that can't happen. In a statement to CBC Toronto, Nissan Canada said the issue is with the car's navigation unit, which are on back order. It says as a gesture of goodwill, Nissan has provided Cameron with a rental vehicle, and it's diligently working with the U.S. counterpart to source a replacement as soon as possible.
The best thing to do is the company say, look, yes, there are a lot of issues with this car. We're going to replace it.
Mohammed Bouchama says Cameron's story is common. His group has been pushing for Ontario to bring in so-called lemon laws.
It's really up to the provincial government to introduce some kind of lemon laws. We need it.
In 2023, Quebec passed a bill that included lemon laws. It allows some buyers to have a vehicle declared seriously defective by a court and have the purchase cancelled. It's believed to be the first of its kind in Canada. When asked whether Ontario would consider something similar, the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement pointed to something called CAMVAP, an arbitration service that exists across Canada. For Cameron, better laws are a no-brainer.
If they take your money, they should also be able to take back the vehicle if it isn't proper.
For now, he's forced to wait for any updates on the car he's paying for, but isn't driving. Farah Morali, CBC News, Wasaga Beach.
A group in Markham says the sound of loud GO train horns is making their lives miserable. Metrolink says a recent near-miss incident in their area has brought back the horn protocol after years of silence. That silence was brought about after neighbors campaigned for it. Now the question is, when will peace and quiet return? Brittany Billette has our story.
34 times a day from around 5 a.m. till midnight. That's how often GO train whistles are sounding off, says Markham resident Shanta Sundaraisan.
We cannot live with on a daily basis. It's affecting work, it's affecting sleep. It really has to stop. It's not necessary.
But Metrolinx says it is. According to a statement from the transit agency, there was an extremely concerning near-miss collision at this crossing on December 23rd. That's what prompted the whistles to come back 4 days later in the middle of the holidays.
My understanding is that a street sweeper contracted by a local developer who's doing some building work managed to get caught on the tracks when the train was approaching the level crossing.
Metrolinx says a full-scale safety assessment is underway, adding that Transport Canada requires the implementation of whistles in any situation where unsafe conditions affect the rail corridor.
But the residents around within the community should not have to put up and be punished for one person's folly.
For years, residents and the city worked to silence the passing GO trains through a $7.5 million anti-whistling program. By upgrading safety features, Markham says it stopped the mandatory horns at 15 crossings. But now residents near Euclid and Eureka are hearing the horns once again, and there's no timeline as to when they'll stop.
We live in this building. I'm right in the front. 3 o'clock in the morning on January the 1st, was woken up. 5 o'clock in the morning, woken up. It's disrupting our whole lives.
You're hearing train noises at all hours of the day. Unnecessary.
We're not looking to pick a fight, but we're hoping that there's a resolution that is made sooner rather than later.
Metrolinx has asked the city to add additional safety features to the crossing and for the nearby local developer Minto Communities to do additional training with staff and subcontractors, says Councillor McAlpine.
If I had to live immediately adjacent to this level crossing, and a lot of people do, I'd be equally upset, but I'm afraid I just have to ask them to be a little bit more patient.
McAlpine says the city upgraded street signs over the weekend, and on Tuesday, Minto submitted its training and inspection plan to Metrolinx. The city says it's working with the transit agency to stop the noise, but safety is its utmost priority. Brittany Billette, CBC News, Markham.
Welcome back. CBC News has learned Ontario's crypto king, Aidan Platurski, is now facing several charges in relation to a case of intimate partner violence. Documents filed in a Newmarket court show Platurski was arrested on Monday. He's accused of allegedly assaulting a woman 2 times, as well as forcibly confining her in the span of 3 days. Platurski was granted bail on Monday after his parents pledged $7,500. He was ordered to stay at his parents' home in Whitby and to avoid contact with the complainant. Last May, Durham police charged Platurski in what they called the largest fraud investigation the region has ever seen. In Toronto, a 24-year-old man has been sentenced to 11 years in prison for a knife attack on Halloween night in 2019 that killed 1 person and injured 6 others. A jury previously found Jacob Alves guilty of manslaughter and assault after he stabbed and slashed 7 people at a frat house party in the Annex. Alves had testified he had no memory of stabbing a 19-year-old in the heart, causing his death, or injuring 6 others because he was too intoxicated. At trial, he said he started carrying a knife for protection after a boy slashed him in the neck during a robbery. But today, the judge ruled Alves was sober when he chose to arm himself before consuming alcohol. The judge gave Alves credit for nearly 8 years already served, leaving him with 3 years and 3 months left in custody. Turning over to Oshawa now, and Durham police have issued an arrest warrant for a man accused in a fatal New Year's Eve shooting. Officers responded to this apartment complex on Cedar Street at approximately 2 p.m. last Tuesday. When they arrived, they found a man suffering from gunshot wounds, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim was identified as 29-year-old Dennis Binda of Oshawa. Today, police are looking for 44-year-old Michael Mills, who's wanted for second-degree murder. A wave of break-ins has shop owners in Toronto's West End on high alert. Local food shop Spanish Pig, the latest victim in a growing list of burglaries in Queen West. Patrick Swadden has that story.
When a burglar smashed their way through this Roncesvalles shop's front door, they weren't after its olive oil, wine, or cured meats. Cash was the target.
And they took the screen, the cash register, and another screen, all part of my point of sale, grabbed it, and then went back the same way, breaking some bottles on the way out.
Spanish Pig owner Jonathan Lorad says the thief only got a couple hundred in cash, but
the moment you don't have a point of sale and you have a boarded up door, it does unfortunately put off some potential customers.
And slow business as he awaits a point of sale replacement, the latest in a series of break-ins affecting businesses in Toronto's West End, leaving some shop owners fearing who's next.
I think it's really sad because we're all small businesses and we're all like in kind of a post-pandemic recovery period.
Up the street from Spanish Pig, no cash taken from Mabel's Bakery, but manager Jennifer Hall says
there's always a bit of a sense of violation when someone's been in your space.
And she says the number of local stores being targeted is alarming.
Lebanon Express was maybe 2 to 3 weeks before us. Coffee and All That Jazz was the 27th. Review Cinema had their door smashed on the 25th. Castle and Cole was New Year's Eve.
Castle and Cole near Queen West and Ossington also boarded up, and with a new MO going forward. Police say that area was hit hard between 1:30 and 4:30 a.m. on New Year's Eve.
There was a man and a woman who attended 6 different commercial premises in that neighborhood. The man used a rock to break the front door and targeted the cash registers once inside the premises, and the woman remained as a lookout.
Police not confirming which 6 businesses were hit, but asking for the public's help in identifying 2 suspects, a man they describe as early 40s, around 6 feet tall and 180 pounds, and a woman late 30s to early 40s, around 5'6", with dark brown hair. Toronto police also adding updated security systems go a long way in helping their investigations.
We've had a lot of support from other local businesses.
The one silver lining, local businesses rallying around the targeted shops.
Everyone gets together in these kind of situations because everyone can feel your pain as a small business.
As for Spanish Pig, Lorad hopes to be fully back up and running Wednesday. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
And Colette is joining us now to talk about that crazy cold that's out there right now. Our producer Grant was telling me that last night after the show, he went home and he was running outside in these frigid temperatures. I don't think I'd do it.
Oh, like for exercise?
That's
Not because it's
for
cold
fun
to get indoors?
And for activity. No, he wasn't running from anything. No, he was just enjoying the night.
I see you. I see those people who do that. Yes, good on you, though. And actually, it does kind of warm you up, I guess, if you get moving out there. That and the layers, it's what we need, really. You know, today it may not have felt like it, but check out the temperatures. We actually climbed to -4. Why didn't it feel like that? Well, because of those winds. So, yeah, we had significant wind chills, so still knocking it back to about -12, and even colder than that early this morning when we had a low last night of -10. And so have a look at that jet stream. Yes, still that stronger flow with that system moving off the eastern seaboard. Also, those very strong winds. The Santa Ana's driving the winds out towards the west coast and California, really looking at some issues there in Southern California with their fire situation. But elsewhere, it's that cold air that sunk across the Great Lakes, and as I've been saying, it kind of doubles down overnight tonight, so we see those temperatures slipping even farther, and tomorrow's daytime high is even chillier. Snow squall warnings as well, because those winds are really driving those squalls across the lake, and then in areas not in watches or warnings, we have winter weather travel advisories. So around Blue Mountain, back towards Goderich, stretching over towards Barrie, Orillia, Midland, through that region, you're experiencing these as well. In terms of the amounts of snowfall, 10 to maybe upwards towards 20 centimeters there around Collingwood. And the London area, yes, they keep coming back to this region. So looking at perhaps another 10 to even 15 centimeters. This is putting it all together. It's actually going to be winding down as we get through the day tomorrow. So finally, still with you overnight tonight and tomorrow, but then they start to ease. And that means our wind chills ease as well. Next system that's going to be developing, well, there'll be one to the west of us and another one in the southern plains. So as those two kind of move to the east, as we get towards the end of the week, I think we won't see anything too significant here, but we could get some light snow as we go Friday night into Saturday. But these are our overnight temperatures, -12 tonight, feeling like -20, and the high tomorrow just -8. So we've got a couple of days like this, and then you see that climb with those temperatures towards the end of the week, Chris, start coming up, getting close to freezing. How about that for a daytime high?
Oh my gosh, well, at least we can get through these frigid temperatures, and nice to see those winds easing.
Yeah, exactly, whether you're running or not.
All right, well, we got to run. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.